to get going here with the funding panel. Should we do the clap 3 times thing? All right, if you can hear me, clap 3 times. All right, one more time. If you can hear me, clap 3 times. One last time, really loud. If you can hear me, clap 3 times. All right, good. All right, we're ready to go with a great panel here on funding. I'm David Gold. I'm with the FIO protocol. We are making decentralized transactions easy enough to use that your web surfing grandma could use them, and we're working with a growing list of wallets and exchanges that are partnering with us to do that. I'm going to first just have everybody go around on the panel here and quickly, in like a minute or two, introduce yourselves, tell us your organization and what your organization does at a high level.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Griff Green. I work with DAppNode and IDEN3, but I think in this talk the focus is where I spend most of my time, which is with Giveth. Giveth is a, thank you, yeah. Giveth is a community focused on blockchain for good. We have had a lot of really awesome projects come through our platform, most notably DAppNode and BrightID. And we're trying to make it easy for everyone to coordinate around funding and see responsible funding. We actually are just about to push our last main release on the Giveth Dapp, kind of our flagship product. So we'll be feature complete, and we're really excited to see foundations and other organizations within this space use it to coordinate, choosing where to send the funds in an even way, you know? So thank you.
Hi, I'm Hannah Parsons with Exponential Impact. We call it XI. XI is an early stage technology accelerator and focusing on emerging technologies such as blockchain. We are structured as a nonprofit entity, but we have created a partner seed fund that is for profit that operates as a social enterprise. So when companies are accepted into our accelerator program, they can expect to get between $30,000 and $50,000 in seed funding. That's negotiable. And then as the fund makes money over time, since there's nobody taking a cut or a carry, about 10% of that fund goes back to support the overall ecosystem. So our goal is really to give early stage companies in emerging technologies the longest runway possible and the greatest chance of success.
Hi, my name is Emin Soleimani. I'm the CEO of SpankChain. We did an ICO and raised some money late 2017. I'm also the summoner of a DAO called Moloch, and it was launched yesterday here actually, and it's trying to basically get people to fund community efforts to accelerate ETH 2.0 and potentially the greater Ethereum ecosystem eventually.
Hi, my name is Aya Miyaguchi, Executive Director of the Ethereum Foundation. The Ethereum Foundation supports core infrastructure level project development research to improve Ethereum by giving grants and doing communications and education and organizing DevCon.
Great, thank you. Aya, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit more if an entrepreneur or a project wants to try and get funding from the ETH Foundation. How do they go about applying for grants? How do you make your decisions on the projects you're going to fund?
Sorry, it's hard. It's a little bit hard to hear you.
It's hard to hear me. Is that better?
Yeah.
So I said, tell us a little bit about if there's a project that is interested in trying to get funding from the ETH Foundation. How do they go about applying for a grant, and what's the decision process that you use to decide who to give grants to?
So we have application form that people can apply. Again, our main focus is core infra level of research or development project. But we are more flexible now, and originally when we started doing give more grants starting last year, the main focus was what we suggested. Here's the list, wish list, scaling, security, usability, and privacy and all that. But you can if you think you're creating great impact to Ethereum, you can apply. And then the screening process is we do have internal developers and researchers to help the decision making, but we also actually invite some community members to be part of it now so that we can make best decisions.
Great. Amin, tell us more about the DAO that you've launched and tell us how that can play into the funding needs of companies or projects.
Yeah, so we're launching the DAO, well, we launched it yesterday, and the idea is to get people who are in Ethereum who want to contribute, but may not necessarily want to go through the Ethereum Foundation to be able to basically discuss what to fund and how much it deserves. The structure is a little novel. So there is no concept of like giving a set amount of grants. Basically, everybody pools their ether and then proportionally dilutes themselves in order to give grants. So you earn some fraction of the voting shares, and then if you want, you can liquidate that, and you sacrifice your ability to vote on future proposals, but then you get, the money.
And can the money be given to both for-profit and not-for-profit projects or endeavors?
So it's starting as just a grants to just accelerate like ETH 2.0, because that's sort of one of the areas that, you see Vitalik like YOLO 1,000 ETH to 3 teams because it became obvious to him that there was still low-hanging fruit that could benefit from additional funding, and that got one of the core team members of Prismatic Labs to like leave Google. And so at first I think we want to focus on there. It's the type of thing that everybody in the space depends on, but it's sort of hard to fund. And because Ethereum is structured that none of the inflation rewards go to developers or to a foundation like the EF to distribute, all funding for the continued protocol development has to either come from the EF or on a voluntary basis from all ETH holders.
Great, thank you. Hannah, so you're with Exponential Impact, which is an accelerator. Talk to us a little bit about the difference for a startup company of sort of going it alone versus jumping into any accelerator.
Yeah, so I think it depends really is the answer. I think there are a lot of accelerators out there. There were a lot of accelerators out there, and I think people need to be really thoughtful when they apply to go into them to find out what is the real goal of the accelerator. So for Exponential Impact, our goal is to grow early stage companies, specifically in Colorado, but it's not a requirement that companies stay in Colorado. And so for ours, we, for example, were just recently awarded a federal grant from the Economic Development Administration to grow second and third stage programs. Because when you're talking about companies in AI or blockchain where it takes longer than a traditional accelerator to potentially build what needs to be built. And so for our companies, the federal grant then allows us to add second and third stage programming so that we can keep companies, early stage companies, after the accelerator for up to 18 months. And so if we can continue to build resources within the organization, then that saves the companies from having to add those too quickly to their companies. So I think then another opportunity with some accelerators, including ours, is if people are looking for grant funding and things that are non-dilutive, is to really look at partnerships with universities. So Colorado specifically has a lot of programs that work with universities on the tech transfer of and commercialization of research. Blockchain is certainly a hot topic within the university systems. So if people have a product that they feel like is beyond proof of concept, but it doesn't even have to be too much beyond that, there are some of programs like ours and probably some other accelerators that can partner with the university to take that and call it applied research and get funding to continue to build those programs. So I think the real goal is sometimes I would say accelerators, I can compare them to a conveyor belt. So you start at your kickoff and you go 12 or 14 weeks and you hit demo day and it's kind of, I say fly or die. So sometimes that's it. So I think that's where people really need to be careful when they're choosing what kind of program they're going into and find out if there are other grant funding opportunities or ways to keep going once demo day is over.
And what are some of the other criteria you would suggest to entrepreneurs that are looking at accelerators for trying to decide between which accelerators they should consider or apply to?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that they need to ask the question of what does it mean when you have a mentor? Is the mentor really going to be there for your company? Because there are some accelerators, I believe, where the mentors are scanning on behalf of the organization to find the the winners of sorts from those programs. And so I think just finding out what is the real goal, how much time are you going to have to work on your product while you're going through the curriculum, what kind of programming do they deliver? Is it just are they really getting into helping you on the back end of your technology? Are they helping your sales process? So I think just making sure that, one, they need to be really self-aware of what their needs are. So if you can really know what you need going into it, what your blind spots are, and make sure that that organization has it.
Great. So Griff, you're doing some innovative things, leveraging blockchain to help not-for-profits raise money, right? So sort of to help me understand what's the difference in the experience for the nonprofit organization of raising donations through your platform versus the old-fashioned way?
Well, with Giveth, so Giveth has its main, the DAP, right? It's our flagship product. And on there, you don't need to be a legal entity necessarily. You can actually just be a blockchain-based entity and receive funding in DAI or Ether. And you don't need to play all the bureaucratic games. Like if you wanted to apply for a grant from a college, good luck. You're going to have to play a lot of games to get to the actual point where you get money and actually can work. Here, if you just want to be some people, you want to start a DAO, you can apply for funding and you don't have to play any of those games.
And so then, as far as getting the word out, if I'm using your platform to raise money for a project or for a nonprofit entity, how do I get the word out so that there's actually people who are aware and then will potentially donate?
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, Ethereum and all blockchain systems are pretty raw. So at least our strategy is to onboard donors first so that there is money that wants to be given away into the space. Because trying to just onboard a bunch of people who want money, everyone wants money, right? I mean, I can make a million campaigns, it sounds great. But if there's no one to actually give it away, we're actually wasting their time learning this technology and trying to hold their hand. We're wasting our time and theirs if there isn't actually money to be given away on the platform. So our main goal is to figure out new funding streams and new funding mechanics that can realign the incentives that inspire people to donate. Right now, donating is it suffers from the tragedy of the commons issues, right? Anyone who donates, they suffer themselves for the greater good of everyone. That sucks. That's stupid. We can do better, and we have blockchain technology and crypto primitives that we can use to realign the incentives.
And so are you guys live, and has there been different projects and so forth that have been funded through the platform?
Yeah, actually, if you want socks from MakerDAO, there's a group that is asking for money to help refugees. It's GraceAid. They have been working with us for a long time, completely voluntarily run organization. None of the people actually make money. All the money goes straight to helping refugees. And it's transparent on our platform where the donations go. So we've actually been live for almost 2 years. We've run 2 Burning Man camps on the platform. And Giveth itself, it raises money only through the platform. And we have about 30 campaigns. I'd say like 10 of them are active. But it's been very beta testing. And we only really let people who begged to be on the platform use the platform, because it's working with this tech in the beta system is pretty rough. It's a time-consuming task, and we want to help people. We don't want to exploit them for our own beta testing.
Thank you. So lightning round now. I've got a couple questions I'll throw out, and anybody can chime in. Hopefully several of you will chime in. So how do you think the downturn in the crypto markets has impacted fundraising, whether for for-profits or nonprofit entities?
I think, any crypto holders, whether there are, our side, we don't really raise grants from others because of the nature of crypto. So as a foundation, normally you raise from other foundations, but we don't. But so it does affect our budget situation, of course, and also in the same way to the project that receive grants or donations with crypto. So it is a challenge that the sustainability of open source, especially open source projects, or the project do not have business model, or project should not have business model, how can they keep sustainable? It's something we should discuss more, and it is a question that I have, in my mind every day now. But so it does affect, yes, but it's at the same time we see this excitement of people are actually really eager to build, and then it's been that way in Ethereum, and it's been that way for our side of project. So I like to we like to help maintain this momentum, not to discourage those projects who are really dedicated to build, and because we want them to stay open source.
Great. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I will say for us in the nonprofit side of things, it has not negatively impacted the work that we're doing, and if anything, it's helped clear the noise. So there's less noise. So when people, for example, will say, how are you feeling about ETH now, or whatever, it's just like feeling great, because then you can have the opportunity to talk about what's being built beyond cryptocurrencies. So it's been very positive, and I think the volatility has given local, state, and probably federal government the opportunity and desire to study this more. So it's opened the door to have bigger conversations around blockchain.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it does help in having real conversations about the technology. But as far as raising funds, holy crap, it's horrible, right? Like when the price is going up, everyone's rich. If you had 100,000 one day and Ether goes up 10%, you just made 10K doing nothing. It's so easy to give that away. It's so easy to be like, well, if I give away 5K, I'm still up 5K on the day, right? But when it goes the other way, and you had 100K and now you only have 90, oh man, you're poor, And it's really funny though, because it's really psychological. So many people in the space have been around where, last 2 Januaries ago, I guess 3 Januaries ago, Ether was $6, right? The January after that, it was 1,400, and now we're all crying about it being in the 100 range. It's hard to, you have to overcome the like, oh, what have you done for me lately, and look at the, larger scale and see how much abundance there actually is still in this space. But it's still really hard to get people who are losing money every day to want to give. It doesn't make a lot of sense to them.
Yeah, I would just echo that. Funding has dried up, but as a percentage of the total funding, the funding for meaningful projects has gone up a lot, because there was a lot more noise, so there's a lot more money for dumb stuff, and now it's a little bit more focused. And it's a lot more infrastructure focused. It's more on the types of things that will propel Ethereum forward, right? If more of the money these days is coming from grants from Aragon Nest or Gnosis, or it's a lot of the projects that actually themselves raised a lot of Ether, and now they want to see the continuation of the platform and the development on it.
Right, that's great. So things are getting a little more real, and it's a little bit easier for the cream to rise to the top when there's not so much chaos in the container, right? That's mixing everything up.
But one positive thing that I'm seeing and also feel excited is Amin just said, they started this, providing financial support. It doesn't have to. So it doesn't have to be the EF. EF actually doesn't own Ethereum. A lot of people misunderstand. We don't own anything. So we just is one contributor. We might be ETH holder, but that's it. So anyone can contribute, and then I'm excited that we see more other funding, supporters that we can work together, and that collaboration is happening now. That's something positive coming out of this. I don't know, some people say winter time. I don't think this is the coldest. I mean, we've seen colder in crypto. Yeah, so I think that is something positive.
So I feel obligated to ask the question, how do you feel that regulations in the United States have impacted fundraising in the blockchain space over the last year in particular?
I've been involved in regulatory side too because of my former job, but I don't think it affected much. It does affect like some part of business decisions or like some part of operations, because like depending on what you are doing, you have to be compliant with the regulations that you are in. But the fundraising, I mean, I guess it depends on the definition of what kind of fundraising you're doing. But our side of like giving grants or raising for your product or project that are building things for Ethereum, it is, well, I'm saying this because the regulatory decision that has been made hasn't been too critical so far, and I hope regulators stay, like wise to, because this is the opportunity, this is the innovation, and they can't really affect too much.
Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would just say on the nonprofit side, I think not so much, because people, if anything, want to spend a bit more in the research side. But I think it's definitely something we have to continue to watch. And as you know, the Colorado Blockchain Council, and I think we're going to hear from Wyoming and some others later today, trying to make sure there's regulatory clarity absolutely makes a difference. So when you have companies that are trying to decide if they're going to be considered a money transmitter or not, and some of those things, it definitely impacts their fundraising. So I think right now, the more that we can keep people open-minded and not move too quickly on some of those things, but provide regulatory clarity, it's very helpful.
Great. I think we just have a few minutes left, so I'll ask one more question. We'll just go down the line here in like 2 sentences or less. If you had to give one piece of advice to somebody who's raising money, what would that couple sentences of advice be? So think about it for a minute. We'll let the clock run. We'll start
Collaboration.
here.
I mean, find other people that are also working in the same vein, team up, and build a big crew, and find a way to collaborate so that everyone wins on the actual goal that you're trying to achieve.
Awesome. Collaboration.
I would say think twice, because I think people get very desperate and they think they need money so badly they'll take on bad partners or give away too much. So I would just say, if you really think you need to raise money, most people who come to an accelerator think money is the answer, and very often it's not.
Great.
Find the people who are most positively impacted by the output of your efforts and try to raise money from them first.
So the Ethereum Foundation, one of the things that we want to do differently starting this year is really, there are things that we can do other than just giving money. And that's something like I want everyone to know. At least, we can talk about what you are doing, and there are other support that we are considering. So, again, like I know we're supposed to talk about money, but that's what we want to do starting this year.
Great. Well, thank you all very much. I think we're at the end of our time here. It's about 12:30, so it's been a great panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.